Hello, friends and fellow Earthlings, warriors in this fight for life. It's good to see you. It's a nice evening here. I tend to record in the evening. That's because I've had a chance to go through all of my paces during the day. And I don't know what it is, but every time that I start recording, my nose itches. It must be anxiety. I have anxiety itches. So, little update on my mouth. It's still sore, and it may be that I'm still talking a little funny because I have, spots in my mouth that are sore. But I'm feeling a lot better. I'm on antibiotics. Apparently there was some infection, and it is going to heal. It's just going to take a little time. But I have so many things planned. So, I have a trailer planned for the homepage. I also have a montage of my life that I want to play and that I want to create. All that takes time, and I'm actually quite busy, so I'm having a hard time covering all my stuff. So I've been doing the training in vidIQ to learn how to do YouTube a little bit better, and I've been going to the YouTube Studios, the special app for that. And I'm making progress on this little channel. It's really slow, but the first couple of videos I put out right in the very beginning, they're no longer up. But I only got 7 views, and then it went to something like 20 views, and now I'm up to something like 40 views. So, there is a lot of things that I can do to improve my channel, but nothing will help my channel quite like you helping me. Spreading the word and sharing my videos would be a great help. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like, share, comment. Hit the bell button so you get notifications. But tonight, I want to talk about something that has been very, very helpful in my life. And if you've looked at the title, it's called Little Bitties Up and Down. Now, I'm going to tell you how this got started. So, when my kids were really, really little, and they had coloring books, I started teaching them how to color. And you know how a really small child will do if they have a coloring sheet. They'll just take one of those big crayons and they'll hold it like this, and they'll just draw lines everywhere. And so I taught mine to take the crayon and stay in the lines, and you do little bitties up and down, up and down, up and down. Little bitties up and down. I know I'm excited. Little bitties up and down, and then you just keep doing lines across there until you get the spaces in the coloring book, filled in. So that's where the phrase little bitties up and down came from. But as time went on, this started kind of mutating into a, different kinds of little bitties up and down. Little bitties became more than just a coloring sheet for little children. That is a great way to teach little children to color a sheet. You do little bitties up and down, and then they fill in each space, and it's really cute and it works for them. So you can sing along with them. Little bitties up and down, up and down, up and down. I might have been a goofy mom, but I tried. So, when I was going through a phase of really learning to pay attention to detail, about that time in my life, I started realizing that anything that you do is worth doing well. And Everything in life is a struggle. But if you break up large tasks and maybe break them up again and get them in a little bitty form, you can just break it up until it's just easier to accomplish. Now, I remember a story when we were all homeless and we were doing DoorDash. But believe it or not, it's quite expensive to live any sort of life if you're homeless because it takes a lot of gasoline for the car, especially if it's cold or warm because you're trying to heat it and cool it. You drive around quite a bit, and you're either eating out or you're getting some kind of food, that's pre-made or whatever. So it just really, memberships to gyms so you can shower and stuff, it's actually quite expensive. And we've saved money since we've had a home, believe it or not. But I remember one particular time we did DoorDash because doing DoorDash you could work from city to city. It didn't matter where you were. And actually when we came to the Southwest, we were actually in Virginia. So we had to travel all the way across the United States. And what we didn't really have any money to start with. So what we did was we dashed enough to get the gas tank filled up. And then we headed out and we went as far as we could go, and we would pick out the next city and we would stop in the next city and we would dash there enough to fill up the tank again. And, we did that all the way across. It's about 1,900 miles, I think. But we got here. We did it. Little bitties. It was little bitties. But I remember one particular time we had run out of gas. We also didn't have any money. There was just a tiny bit of gas in the truck. And I started telling Jamie, because he was really upset, he's very protective, and I started telling him about the little bitty methods that I had used. So he was listening, and he said, I don't know if that's going to work. And I said, well, just follow my lead. And he's like, well, okay. So we waited for a particular dash to open up that was really close to where we were setting. And I think we were going to get like $3. And the gas tank was, on fumes at this point. Excuse me. The gas tank was on fumes at this point. So we waited, and I think we waited like an hour or so before one popped up that was actually close enough to do. So we went and picked up the food and delivered the order, and we got $3. And so we went to the gas station and we put $3. That was one little bit. And then we waited for another order to come in, and I think the next order was something like $10. And we kept doing that until we got up to enough to fill the gas tank with gas. Then we dashed more and we got enough to eat breakfast. And then, we would do that all through the day. But, we were empty on gas and $3 to, no money whatsoever. And the first little bit of gas we got was $3. That is the concept of little bitties when it comes to frugality. But it grows from there. As we traveled across the country, and we kept trying to find a place where we could rent or we could, buy something, land contract, we just searched for everything possible. And we really couldn't find anything. But, so we just kept traveling. But we always kept this concept in our mind. It's better to have a little than nothing at all. So don't complain about not having a lot. And it was quite it was a situation that really, it was kind of strange, but before we started door dashing, we had got broke again, and we were sitting in the Walmart parking lot. It was morning, and we didn't have any money, and I was thinking I would just love to have a cup of coffee. And I'm sitting there in the car seat, just kind of dozing in and out, thinking I would really love to have a cup of coffee. And some man came along and just put a $5 bill underneath the windshield wiper. And I was so thankful for that little tidbit because I could have a cup of coffee. And another time, it was really, like I said, this was a situation that probably shouldn't have happened, and I got silly, I guess. I was wearing flip-flops all the time because it was summertime. It was in Arizona, and it was nice and warm there. And I was wearing flip-flops all the time. And I had a pair of tennis shoes, but they'd kind of worn out, and they had gotten wet somehow. And so I had thrown them away, and I'm thinking, oh, these flip-flops are going to last for a while. Well, I hung them on something, and they broke. And I'm like, oh, I have no shoes. And I wasn't without shoes because we really, I was like that poverty-stricken, but at that moment in time, I had no shoes. So I was walking around barefooted and all of that, and some man just walked up and handed me $5. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And it was very soon after that we started doing DoorDash. And when we started doing DoorDash, we had, it was difficult and we had to work really hard, but we did well. But I'm thinking, I wonder if I could get a pair of shoes in Walmart for $5. So I went in, and they had this little rack, and lo and behold, there was a pair of tennis shoes that fit me for $3. And I was just so thankful. So if you're not, it's kind of like my YouTube channel right now. I'm getting views. It's gradually growing. It's small, but it's little bitties, right? And little bitties grow into big things. Little bitties grow into big things. I want you to remember that. Another time that I used the little bitty scenario was when I was sick. If you're a housewife, you know what this is like. There's just certain things you have to do. The kids can't do it, the husband can't do it. It's kind of complicated. But when I was sick, especially right after my surgery, it was hard to move. I was in a lot of pain still. I was stiff. It was a really, really difficult time. But, I still was determined I was going to take care of my family, and I was going to cook and all of that stuff. But I would get in the bed, and I would lay there, and I would think, I can just get up and do a 3-minute task. Walk into the kitchen, wash a few dishes, heat up something, if I can fry a few eggs for the guys, something like that. And so 3-minute tasks can be your little bitty that gets you going. And so I used to complain a lot that I didn't have a lot of motivation. And then I started realizing that it wasn't motivation I lacked. I really had quite a bit of motivation. What I lacked was momentum. So sometimes just getting started will help you get started, and then you get a lot done. Another time that I dealt with this, doing the little bitty thing, was when I had 3 months of being broke out with chronic hives from the top of my head to toes of my toes. So I had went through something, and honestly, I'm still going through it, that essentially just devastated me. And I still struggle with it. It's concerning somebody that I love more than life itself, and I struggle with it. But I had made up my mind I was going to pull up my big girl britches and I was going to be strong and I just wasn't going to let it bother me anymore. Well, determined to be hard-nosed about the whole thing, I refused to allow myself to cry. I refused to allow myself to feel my emotions, which I am an advocate of feeling your emotions. But when I did that, I started breaking out in hives. I literally would get like a patch, like right here, and then it worked up my arm and got all over this arm, and then it got all over this arm. And then it didn't ever really get on my face, but it got on my neck and all down my torso and my abdomen and went all the way down my legs. It even went to my toes. In between my fingers, I had a rash all over, and it was horrendous. It itched, and I could not stop scratching until I had sores on my arms. And I've mentioned this once before. When at the time I was trying to find a therapist, and one therapist refused to see me till I went to a doctor and got relief that I was safe to be around. I'm thinking he probably thought I had scabies or something. But I very soon got a really good therapist, and she understood what it was and everything. But while I had the hives, for 3 months, mind you, and they had me on a really strong antihistamine that made me sleep. So when it would get to the point that I just couldn't bear it anymore, and I would take one of those antihistamines, I was just in a coma. It just knocked me out. So I remember I was kind of like in and out of reality during that time too. But I remember one point getting up and walking through the house, and I'm thinking, this house is a mess. And if you know anything about me, I hate a messy house. And the dining room table at the time was just full of, it had been a catch-all, so now it was full of books and magazines, and it was just covered. And so I said to myself, I've got to do the little bitties. I've got to start making progress. So, and by that time, I realized what had caused me to break out in the hives, trying to hold in all of my emotions. So whenever I did have the ability to cry and let it out, I did. So I started getting better, but it was really, really slow. And by the way, if you ever had hives, the best thing to use on it is an arthritis cream that's got a little bit of that burn in it, like it's got a little bit of that peppery stuff in it. It will just take the itch right out of your hives. Helpful hint. But so I started getting up, and my first goal was to clean off like 1/4 of the dining room table, and then another, and I just started gradually doing that. I think actually doing the little bitties like that, because as soon as I felt fatigued or tired, or my hives started getting worse, I would go straight back to bed. But every time I got up, even if it was just for 3 minutes, I was making a little bit of progress. And this is the way it goes. If you can't eat the whole elephant, break it down into small bits that you can handle. And I used to say to myself, I'd be laying in the bed and I would be suffering in some way, and I would just, I've had to battle depression. And it's more like a clinical depression. It's not necessarily something that it's not because of anything, but I have battled depression. And I don't take an antidepressant. Right now I don't take anything because I have like a ton of coping skills, and I struggle, but I make it. So, and I'm not saying it's bad. If you need an antidepressant, definitely go get one. I am hard to fit with anything, but if you don't know this, now you can have a DNA test done that will fit medications to your DNA, and they can tell you which one are going to be a good fit for you. But going on, I doing the little bitties got me there. And I could take, just a whole house that was just turned upside down in 3-minute increments, get it all accomplished. It may take days, it may take weeks, but you can get it. Okay, another thing that, if you just think about it, we start out with this little teeny tiny baby, and it grows so slow that you can't watch it grow from day to day. But it's amazing how fast they become adults. So we learn, we grow, we heal in very small increments. But very small things soon become huge. And it really is, whether it's good or bad. You can sow a bad seed, say something bad about someone, or speak out of turn, and it can just grow into a lifelong tree of misery. I've done that a few times. Get involved in something you shouldn't get involved in, and then, like 6 months, 6 years later, you're still struggling with it. So we have to be careful. We can plant good seeds and they will grow just the same. Now, I've been very open about I'm still struggling with this. I'm in therapy. I love therapy. If you have a good therapist, as long as I can have a good therapist, I may never give up on having a therapist. But I still struggle. And there are things that I deal with every single day. And I am no exception. All of you do. You all have things that you struggle with from time to time because life can get very heavy. And the path and the road gets confusing and it gets hard. But my days are like this. I wake up in the morning and, like I said, I have a little job that I log into. But I struggle for about 3 hours. Because I usually, and I don't know why this is, I'm still trying to discover it and just trying to overcome it. But usually when I wake up in the morning, I start out in a grief cycle. I'm grieving over people that I miss, that I'm not talking to. I grieve over things that, that I've done, that I'm sorry that I did. I grieve over things that, other people have done to me. I grieve over things that I've lost, people I've hurt. There's just a lot. But for some reason, when I first open my eyes in the morning, I wake up in a grief cycle. Now, I don't lay and lollygag with that. I actually start, I get busy, I do the things that I have to do, and I get on with my day. But, my grief hits me right here in the heart. And if I feel like I have to just break down and cry, I do. Now, it generally takes me something like 3 hours to get completely out of that. But it gradually goes. And I think as I go on, it gradually gets better. But it's a slow process. But we have to remember that we heal slowly. We heal in little bitties. One day you may have a great huge loss, and the next day it hurts, and the next day it hurts, and the next day it hurts. But one morning you're going to wake up and there's going to be a bird on your windowsill. And that bird's going to be chirping, or you're going to see flowers growing outside your window. And your heart's going to lift. And then it's going to lift again, and it's going to lift again. So we heal by little bitties. We learn by little bitties. I think I have been the most ignorant person in the world. I mean, it's really not funny, but you know how I am about laughing. I learn so hard and so slowly. And so many of the things didn't have explained to me and I wasn't taught. But then there's also been a lot of things that I look back and people said, you don't need to do that. That's a mistake. And you better really think about what you're getting ready to do. And I did it anyway because I don't know why I did it, but I did it anyway. And I suffer and I'm still suffering for it. We suffer from our stupid mistakes. But I learn hard and I learn slow. But we learn slow because we're building these things in our brain called neurons. And I wish I could find the video, but I actually saw a microscopic video of these two nerves. And they just kept reaching out. It was like they were reaching for each other. And then finally, at some point, they just hooked up. And that's what happens when you're learning a new skill. You keep trying to do it and it doesn't work, and you keep trying to do it and it doesn't work, and eventually it gets a little easier and a little easier until those brain neurons hook up. And from then on, you've learned the skill. And so we heal slowly, we learn slowly, and we grow slowly. So don't be impatient with yourself. Don't be impatient with your kids. Don't be impatient with anybody that's putting forth that effort to become a better person. You know, it was really funny the other day when I come home from the dentist, or oftentimes when I'm waking up in the morning and I'm in that grief cycle. My little dogs that you see sleeping or running around in the room, they can all sense when I have some sort of issue going on. And when I came home from the dentist, or if I'm in a grief cycle, or if something's bothering me, even if I'm upset, like kind of angry about something, they notice it and they gather around me. So if I lay down on this bed over here, they will get just all. I have 3 little dogs and a big cat, and our cat is named Dylan. He loves to jump up on the computer and get in between me and the computer screen. He's wanting attention or he's wanting to be fed. So one of these days, he's going to jump up on the computer and he's going to be like right here and you won't be able to see me. He's an Egyptian mouse, so he is like extra big and he's got a strange temperament. But they will all 4 gather around me like they're trying to comfort me. And they'll sniff of me and just keep coming back and checking on me, you know. And as active as they are, if I'm upset about something, they just gather around me. This YouTube channel is not just about the story of my sorrows, my griefs, my past, and how I overcome them. Yeah, I want to share that because I know so many of you are suffering the same way. So many of you are lonely. You have family estrangements. You have grief. You have regrets. There's so many things that cause pain in our life. And I want you to know you're not alone in that. There are people, and it's my hope that eventually we'll build a community of people here where we can actually encourage each other. We can come along and say, you know, I went through that same thing. The channel's really small now, and my hopes are that it will grow. But we heal slowly. But there's something else that happens in the little bitties, ups and downs. Because the ups are times when you think you're making really great progress, and the downs are times you're thinking, oh, I'm just never going to accomplish this. But our dreams come slowly. But we have to keep our dreams in our mind. Don't ever give up on your dreams. Keep them in the frontal lobes. Be remembering what you're doing. So oftentimes I will be doing housework. So I'm washing dishes, I'm cleaning the shower, I'm, sweeping, mopping the floors or whatever. And it's like, oh, this is not getting me to where I want to go because I have big dreams. But it is. It's just a little bitty. And the little bitties sometimes seem like they're getting in your way, but they're not. There's little bitties that go up and there's little bitties that go down. And some days you're going to have those little bitties go down, down, down. And other days you're going to have little bitties go up, up. But eventually, keep the trajectory in your mind, keep the goals in your mind, and you head in the direction that you want to go, and you will achieve your dreams. So I'd like to say like, follow, subscribe, comment, support me in this venture, and you're going to see good things come, because I am going to create a trailer for the homepage. I'm going to be working on my channel art some. Eventually I want to get a blog, and there's so many things that are yet to come. It's just I have so many hours in the day, and now I still have holes in my mouth that I'm healing from. So be patient with me, but for now, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!